أما بعد أحبتي في الله. Every human being looking for honor and dignity, but everybody looks at it in different places and different things. People seeking honor and dignity in money, people seeking honor and dignity maybe in power, in position, in job, and family, and different things. But al-mu'min, he knows that his honor and dignity came from his iman, from his belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is strong by his religion, and he does not humiliate himself or herself to anyone except to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no honor and dignity for the Muslims except by obedience to Allah and by relating to this great religion and applying its rules on our lives. Umar radiallahu anhu said the statement which we heard many times: لقد كنا أذلاء فأعزنا الله بالإسلام فإذا ابتغينا العزة في غيره أذلنا الله. We were so humiliated till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honor us with Islam. And if we seek honor and dignity in anything other than Islam, Allah will humiliate us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described himself and he says, سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. Glory to be your Lord, the Lord of honor and dignity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا. Whosoever seeks honor and dignity, honor only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the person is seeking honor and dignity, you will find he always feeling that with the truth. You will find he is feeling honor, but he's humble. He has good manners. He is soft and kind and generous. And Abu Salama ibn Abdul Rahman rahmatullah, one time he described Ashabul Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he said, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam were not hard people, were not very sophisticated or very aggressive, or people who show humiliation, but they sat together, they mention poetry, they talk about what they used to do in al-Jahiliyyah, and sometimes laughing. But when someone try to insult or talk bad about the religion, you will find his eyes looking around as if he's crazy, that nothing will touch his religion and nothing will make him or her more angry than seeing somebody mocking at the religion or disrespect the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the people of honor and dignity with a great description to understand that feeling honor doesn't mean to be arrogant, doesn't mean to be above everyone, but the honor of the religion make the person humble. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described them and they said, أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين. They are humble for the believers and they are stern to the non-believer. Doesn't mean they are aggressive with the non-believer, but always the people that they feel honor and dignity, feel humble, especially in front of those who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described them and he said, فما وهنوا لما أصابهم في سبيل الله وما ضعفوا وما استكانوا. يعني they didn't feel weak or feel humiliated for anything befallen them in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they did not step down in al-haq. They did not humiliate themselves as long in front of humans, as long as they are steadfast for the truth, and they never step down from anything of their religion, no matter what they were, what threat they received, or what fear they were given. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, after he was harmed with an unbeliever, after they talk bad about him, they mock at him, Allah said, وَلَا يَحْزُنْكَ قَوْلُهُم. Don't be sad of what they are saying. Why? فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةِ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Because honor and dignity all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described a different category of people. So al-mu'min feeling honor and dignity because he has al-haqq with him. His religion is the true religion. His God is the true God. His messenger is the last messenger. His book is the final book. All what he has with him is the truth. That's why he feels honor and dignity. But Allah described different category of people who feels honor and dignity with falsehood. And this actually literally it means they are arrogant for no reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about this category of people, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُ اتَّقِ اللَّهِ أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ فَحَسْبُهُ جَهَنَّمْ وَلَبِئْسَ الْمِهَادُ. And whenever it is said to him or her, fear Allah. Ya akhi, stop here. That is wrong. Don't do that. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is led by arrogance to crime, to commit more sin. Allah, enough for him is a hell, and worst indeed is that place to rest. So this is those category of people. When somebody remind them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and told them Allah said, or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, this is the laws of Islam, this is what Allah ordered us to do, that the person became arrogant more and involved more in the sense to annoy the person who advised him. But subhanallah, he is only harming himself. Allah when he talked about this ayah, one of the great mufassirin, he said, إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُ مَهْلًا ازداد أقداما على المعصية. Whenever he is told, Ya akhi, take it easy, that slow down, don't involve in sins, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will make him to go more and more in sins. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained in the Quran and give different qualities for those people. And they explained that people, أهل العزة بالإثم, the people of feeling honor with falsehood, which means they have arrogance. They are the one who feel power with their number, with their materialistic power. And in the pre-Islamic period, they used to say, إنما العزة للكافر. Verily, the honor and dignity for the one who is more in number. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and talk about Musa alayhi salam when he gathered and challenged the sorcerer of Fir'aun. Sorcerers, when they came and they looked at Musa, what they said, قالوا بعزة فرعون إنا نحن الغالبون. They said, by the honor and dignity of Fir'aun, surely will be victorious. Why is that? Because they saw themselves as Fir'aun with the whole army and all the power and their multiple people, and there was only Musa and Harun, 2 people. So this number doesn't give them any benefit. So they think because they have bigger number, then they will have honor and dignity, and they will be victorious. And forgetting that those 2, Musa and Harun alayhim salam, they had Allah with them subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the name, whenever he is in minority, they are not minority anymore, they are majority. أهل العزة بالإثم, the people of who feel honored by falsehood, they always submit themselves to the non-believer and follow their ways, thinking always their ways is the right way. Doesn't matter what they are doing, they just follow them blindly, follow their traditions, their ways, their celebrations, their speaking, their dressing, everything they are doing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described them with a specific description. Allah said, بَشِّرِ الْمُنَافِقِينَ بَأَنَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. Give the news for the hypocrites that they will have a severe torment. Who are the hypocrites? Allah said, الذين يتخذون الكافرين أولياء من المؤمنين أيبتغون عندهم العزة فإن العزة لله جميعا. Those who take the non-believer as partners, as helpers, as supporters, as examples, that instead of the believers, do they seek honor with them? Allah said, no. Verily the honor all belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people of al-izzatu bil-ithm, of feeling honor by falsehood, they don't submit to al-haq. And this is the ayah which I mentioned at the beginning. Whenever they were called to the truth, they became more arrogant. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُ اتَّقِ اللَّهِ أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ. Whenever he is told to fear Allah, that his arrogance, his feeling honored by falsehood, will lead him to involve more in sins and disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أهل العزة بالإثم, people of feeling arrogance by falsehood, they are the people who deny the Prophet ﷺ and disbelieve in him. Allah said, إِذْ جَعَلَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْحَمِيَّةَ حَمِيَّةَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. Allah put in why did not Rasulullah ﷺ, why they did not believe in him? Because of حمية الجاهلية, because of the fanaticism for the area and the arrogance for al-jahiliyyah that make them to do that. They weren't wrong, but they think they weren't right. they thought that they have honor and dignity while they're on falsehood. هذا بالإثم, the people of arrogance, of feeling honor by falsehood, whenever they are reminded by ayatillah, and whenever they are admonished by kitabillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they became insisting more in their misguidance, insisting more in disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even became more aggressive against the one who remind them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ, and whenever our clear ayat is recited to them, تعرف في وجوه الذين كفروا المنكر, you will see the hatred in the faces of the non-believer. يكادون يسطون بالذين يتلون عليهم آياتنا, they are about to attack in violence that those who remind them with our ayat. And subhanallah, there are many of these amongst us, that when you remind them, they are about to attack you, they're about to fight with you. What sin you did? It just you told them Allah said and the Rasulullah said, and that's simple. But because of the arrogance, they don't like this reminding. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, كفى بالمرء إثما إذا قيل له اتق الله غضب. It's enough sin for the person if he was reminded and it was told him اتق الله, he became angry. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us with this to avoid this kind of manner. Al-Muslim, he is the one who surrendered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the meaning of Islam, is submission. And never become angry when somebody reminded him about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is very important when the person is reminded by Allah and he submitted. This is actually a great blessing, a great ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if the person is reminded and he remembers. Umar radiallahu anhu, one time a man told him ittaqillah. The man said to Umar, Amir Mu'mineen, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Umar said? He said, وَمَا فِينَا خَيْرٌ إِلَّمْ يُقَلْ لَنَا وَمَا فِيهِمْ خَيْرٌ إِلَّمْ يَقُولُ لَنَا. Said, there is nothing good in us, the leaders, if we were not told to do that. And there is nothing good in them, on the subjects, if they didn't tell us to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they don't remind us. So al-mu'min always submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remembering and submitting to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there was, I will tell two examples. These two examples explain to us that one example, very high example, other example is another example, just to explain to us and to see how Sahaba and generation after them, they were very submissive when somebody reminded them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was Umar radiallahu anhu, in his court, and the people of the Shura with him. This was a Sahaba always had, and the Khulafa always had, the people of knowledge with them in the Shura. And he had a man with him called Al-Hurr ibn Qais, one from the greatest scholars of At-Tabi'een. And his uncle was a man, he wanted to talk with Umar radiallahu anhu. His name is Uyayna ibn Hisn. He was an aggressive man, but he wanted to talk to Umar. He said to Al-Hurr one time, Ya Hurr, you have some relation with this man, with Umar radiallahu anhu. Why don't you ask him to give me permission to go and gather with you? Then he asked Umar radiallahu anhu, allowed him. Then he entered the court of Umar radiallahu anhu. We can't call it a court, it was just in the masjid, this where he gathered with the people. And when the man entered and stayed with Umar radiallahu anhu, he told him, Ayana told him, Ya ibn al-Khattab, أما إنك والله لا تعطينا الجزل ولا تحكم فينا بالعدل. He, Ibn al-Khattab, told him, Oh Ibn al-Khattab, you are not judging justly amongst us, and they are not giving us our right. Umar became angry, and anybody can become angry in that situation when somebody accused him in his religion. Then Umar was about to punish the man. Al-Hurr ibn Qais told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Inna Allah azza wa jalla yaqul. Remember here, Umar now is reminded and said, Inna Allah yaqul. Whenever somebody heard Allah said, it's final. It's a final. Case is closed, as one brother told me one time. Then he told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Inna Allah yaqul, خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. خذ العفو, accept pardoning, وأمر بالعرف, enjoying good, and turn away from the foolish ones. وإن هذا من الجاهلين. And this one sure from al-jahilin, from the foolish one. So what the narrator said, he said, فَمَا سَمِعَهَا عُمَرْ رضي الله عنه حتى سكن. Once Umar رضي الله عنه heard this verse, he became quiet and suppressed his anger رضي الله عنه, and he said, وَكَانَ وَقَّافًا عند كتاب الله عز وجل. And Umar رضي الله عنه, that whenever he heard كتاب الله, he became quiet and submissive directly to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is al-izzatu bil-haqq, to feel honor with the truth. It's not the matter of I defeat him or defeat me, it's izzah with the truth. But people who have izzah with the falsehood, those are the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somebody can say, Ya akhi, this is Umar. Umar is a very high example. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen, the third man in the Ummah after Rasulullah and Abu Bakr. He is the father-in-law of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he is the second one promised with the Jannah from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is high status. You can't compare us to him. This statement is right and wrong because Umar is a human being. Radiallahu anh. He is not an angel or a prophet. He's a human being. Radiallahu anh. But he submitted himself to Allah and he was trained by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and educated and followed the commands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Second example is Al-Hajjaj. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, that whenever we mention the name of Al-Hajjaj, everybody thinks about sharing blood, injustice, spreading corruption and all that. Al-Hajjaj, he is the only one in the Islamic history who shot catapult, rocks with the catapult on Al-Kaaba. When Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu, when he was in Al-Haram, protecting himself from attack of Al-Hajjaj, Al-Hajjaj was from outside throwing rocks with the catapults over Al-Kaaba till he destroyed part of Al-Kaaba. And it did never happen in the Islamic history since Rasulullah sallam till today that it happened except two times. One time in time of Al-Hajjaj when he threw rocks on Al-Kaaba inside Al-Haram. Second time in Al-Qaramita when they killed Al-Hujjaj in Al-Haram. So this is the only two times. So Al-Hajjaj was the worst one among the Tabi'in. He from the Tabi'in, but he was the worst one amongst them. He killed so many of the children of Sahabat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So many Muslims he killed, and he spread so much corruption and fear amongst Muslims. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, one time there was one person did something wrong and annoyed Al-Hajjaj. So the man knew Al-Hajjaj for sure will punish him. So what did he do? He ran away because he didn't want Al-Hajjaj to catch him. Al-Hajjaj sent the soldier to call him. They didn't find him. He said, does he have any relative? They said, yes, his brother is here. He said, bring his brother. They brought his brother. And that's it? No. They made a circle around his name. Said, حلقوا على اسمه واهدموا داره وامنعوا عطاءه. That circle his name, like putting his name in the blacklist. He cannot travel. And destroy his house. And stop his payment from Bayt al-Mal al-Muslimin, which used to go to him periodically. Then the man went to Al-Hajjaj and he complained to him and told him, أيها الأمير, that حلق على اسمي, my name was circled, my house was destroyed, and my عطاء, my payment was cut, and it's not me, it's my brother. I didn't do anything, it's my brother. Al-Hajjaj told him, hey, hat, what are you talking about? Haven't you heard the Arab poet who said, جانيك من يجني عليك وربما تعد الصحاح مبارك الجرب ولرب مأخوذ بذنب عشيرة ونجى المقارف صاحب الذنب. Haven't you heard that poetry before? جانيك من يجني عليك. Yes, the one who, the true criminal is the one who attacks you. But sometimes, if there is a healthy camel, sleeps in the place where the camels with the scabies sleeps, the healthy camel can be affected as well. وَلَرُبَّ مَأْخُوذٍ بِذَنْبِ عَشِيرَةٍ. Maybe somebody will be accused, taken because of a sin of a group, but the one who really commit the crime, he ran away. That could happen. Haven't you heard that before? This is a very common thing among the Arabs. The man told him, أيها الأمير ولكني سمعت الله يقول غير ذلك. Oh Amir, but I heard Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something else. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm talking about Al-Hajjaj, not anybody else. Hajjaj, when he heard that, it said, أطرق ساعة, that he kept quiet. When he heard Allah said, Al-Hajjaj became quiet. He said, وَمَا يَقُولُ اللَّهِ, what Allah says. So Al-Hajjaj, he listened, he stopped when he heard the word Allah. Then he told him, Allah said, قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إن نراك من المحسنين قال معاذ الله أن نأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده إنا إذا لظالمون. They said, O king, he has an old father, so take one of us instead of him. We see you among the good doer. Then he said, معاذ Allah, may Allah forbid me from doing that to take anyone except the one whom you find our property with. Otherwise, we'll be among the wrongdoers. Al-Hajjaj heard this statement. He kept quiet and he said, and he called his soldier and he said, أفكك له عن اسمه, that remove the circle from his name and build a house to him and give him again his payment and send somebody in the city to make an announcement going all the streets, and they said, أن صدق الله وكذب الشاعر. Allah told the truth and the poet told lies. This is the Hajjaj submitting it to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear respected brothers and sisters, this must be our habit as Muslims. When the person heard Allah said, it's a final, directly submit to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and no more argument. Otherwise the person will be under the category which Allah hates, and said, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُ اتَّقِ اللَّهِ أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ. He will be that among the people who were driven by arrogance to commit more crime and to commit more sins. Because the only thing and the only one will be hurt. It will be you yourself, with the person himself who involved in that, nobody else. That whosoever does wrong will find that, whosoever does good will find that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا يظلم أحدا, will never wrong anyone. But the Muslims, they must be the one who always submit to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to have this quality and تكون وقافا عند كتاب الله وكلام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, to be the one who stopped and submitted and surrendered to the orders of Allah and the orders of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even if it goes against our desires. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get us the straight path and make us from those who submit to His words. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم.